Hey guys, this is the gear for today. I've got a dripping brush right there. Semogue Owners Club. This is about the almost the only normal thing in the shave. Everything else is kind of newish. And 63 uses, something like that on there. We'll get him back in the water. He's been soaking for 15-20 minutes, so that's good. I have used plenty of Gillette Platinums before in my tenure as a shaver, and so he's not new. He's just got a few uses on him, about 5 or so. We're going to put him inside, and this is where things get cool. The Very Kind HD Shaves has sent around this Wolfman head, the WR2 style. If you've never seen them side by side, here's the WR1 style. I happen to have it nearby. And here's the WR2 over here. They're just very easy to pick up the differences there. The 2 has those little fangs coming down from the top cap. It has side safety bars here. They're obviously a little thicker. The WR1s come to more of a point. And so it's pretty easy to pick up the differences when you can see them from the side. And then the WR2, you can see, has a finer little indention pattern there if you see it from this angle. Now, something I've never had before is a dual comb razor. And what HD Shaves has sent, this WR2, is a dual comb. And I'm going to have fun exploring this in a couple of different ways. Now, but before we go into that, let's finish covering the gear. I'm getting ahead of myself, right? Labyrinth from Southern Witchcrafts. It's a new scent that they're going to release in a few days. Maybe by the time you see this video, it might have already been released or close to it. It's a scent that has some notes that sound really good to me. And so I'm looking forward to trying it out. I bought several samples. He had a sample set, and Carmilla and Carpathia are a couple that I've been wanting to try for a while. And Druantio was in there as well. Never tried that one. So Labyrinth is just the beginning. Now, on my recent days, I was using the Lavanda, but I did that when I had these in hand because I didn't feel like my nose was going to apprehend very well the nicer samples that I got from Declaration Grooming. So I hope, yeah, I'm able to pick it up a little bit better. So let's just hope for the best. And besides, there's a few uses in here, right? 5 maybe. And so even if my nose feels like a dud today, I can save it for when I feel a little bit better. So Labyrinth, 2021 release, brand new scent they've been working on for a while. Steven says he loves it a great deal. And I have almost 2 days of growth on, and so that might give us fun to play with the open comb. But if you're familiar with me and my channel, I actually rarely use open combs for the sole purpose of taking down multiple days of growth. A lot of guys kind of put open combs in that category, and there's no reason not to. But there's also no reason to keep a good solid bar, even a mild solid bar, from doing the same duty if you feel like it. All the time, I take a 3 or 5 day beard growth, and I'll take one of my mildest razors, and I'll shave it off without a hitch. You know, it's a big deal that some people make out of it, and it doesn't need to be. But this is kind of let's play around with this scenario of the dual comb. And let's get some water on my face, and then I can talk to you a little bit while we kind of soak and savor and things like that. But before I get my hands wet, I'm going to put the blade in the razor. Hey, I just was made aware several hours ago, a few hours ago, something like that, that Maggard has this, Maggard Razors, maggardrazors.com. Love the site. Wonderful. I've ordered lots of stuff from them over the years. Very happy with their customer service, prices, selection. They have great samples. Wonderful. They had stock of Barrister and Mann, Excelsior Base, and Soft Heart that they were using to put in the little tiny sample containers that often are this size. Here's an example of one of Maggard's sample containers, slightly larger than what I just held up. And I don't know how they do it, but they didn't have the real tubs of those soaps. I don't know if Will at Barrister and Mann sends them a big, jug of a soap, or if they spoon it out and then I don't know how they've done it, but they now have these black containers that were not labeled, and they have put the soap from Barrister and Mann for Excelsior and 1 or 2 cents of Soft Heart in those tubs. They were originally not going to label them. They were going to do something like maybe Southern Witchcrafts and just write on them kind of ad hoc. But they discovered some old labels and in their printer and stuff sitting around, and they said, hey, why not? Let's print up these labels. Well, it didn't work as well as they wanted because of the printing or the whatever. They tell you about that very clearly in the ad, so they're very forthright. Another thing we like about them. And so they call them the poorly labeled bulk containers. They're not the real containers, they're not the Pet G type or anything like that. And so I ordered a petrichor, and I believe it's a Soft Heart. I don't have too many Soft Heart soaps, but they also had Diamond, but I've got Diamond in Excelsior as well as Glissant. I like those. I like Glissant just as good, or if not better, than Excelsior and Soft Heart. It's just my own personal opinion. They had Cologne Rousse. I've also got that one. And in Glissant, they had 42. I've got that one in 2 different ways. I've got the Bay Rum and another one that's really good that I enjoy. But I said the Cologne Rousse. And they also had some reserves, but I've also got the reserves that I like. I've tried all the reserves, and any of the ones that I've liked, I have bought the full tub, and so I don't need. I can't take advantage of this awesome deal. That's just the way it goes, right? And but they're doing that right now for $9. You can get a full tub of Barrister and Mann. That's that long story that I told you just now. That's what I was getting around finally to say. $9 for a nice tub of Excelsior or Soft Heart. I finally got around to trying petrichor, so I did order that one. I believe it's in the Soft Heart base. So it won't have a nice Barrister and Mann label on it. It won't be in a nice Barrister and Mann container, but who cares? It's the soap, and I got it for basically half price. Wonderful. Went ahead and ordered a couple of samples as well. Finally got Omnibus in the Leviathan, as well as some other scent, and Melange, I think. I ordered 2 Zingari Man samples. I ordered, I think, the Traditionalist and maybe the Gent or something. The Rambler and Traditionalist. Those had scent notes that sounded really good. Often Zingari is, they're focused on skin health, and so they don't put a lot of intense oils into their fragrances, into their soap, and so they usually end up to be a little bit closer to unscented for me. So I don't buy those full tubs often, but Heather's a wonderful lady. And then I got a Declaration Grooming sample, the soap that's kind of newish. What did he just put out? I think within the last several months, one called Fake Yellow Light. He speaks very highly of it, and the scent notes look like I might really enjoy that one too. So I'm looking forward to those samples coming in the mail in the next maybe week or so. All right, so let's get this blade in the razor. All right. Now, HD Shaves is a great guy, and he has chosen to send along a Wolfman aluminum handle. This is the handle for the Gorilla, of course. I'm a big fan of the Gorilla razor. It's a mild one from Wolfman. And he has put in a rubber or something washer. Let's take a look at that. Ah, see, it's black, and so I thought it was a rubber O-ring kind of or very spongy kind of washer, and so I actually went and got a nylon washer. I didn't want the springiness to affect the shave. If this has got some give to it, it could affect the firmness of the shave. But nope, he's using the black nylon. So I'll just keep using that same one. And in case you don't know, it prevents any kind of markings here from the top of the handle. And some people like to do that. If I know I'm going to keep a razor, I don't do that personally. But if I know I'm gonna sell it or might sell it, then yeah, I will often put some kind of little thing in there, just because there's some guys out there who definitely like that. So here's what that WR2 plate looks like. I've never used the open comb on a WR2. I have used the open comb on the Gorilla head, and I'm pretty sure I've used the open comb on the WR1 long ago, but it was maybe a 0.7 something, and it was a razor that had a little bit more blade feel than I wanted. So it's been quite a while. So it'll be really a lot of fun playing around with the open comb and the solid bar here. It's all loaded up. The aluminum handles are, of course, very light. And if this was something the size of a tech handle or something with less width to it, less mass, less volume to it, then I probably would switch it out. He actually messaged me and said, you may want to swap that out for another Wolfman handle or another heavier handle, because I'm sending you the aluminum Gorilla handle. And I thought, you might be right. However, I want to try it out, because since it's kind of girthy, even because it's made of aluminum, it's got a little bit more weight than your average aluminum handle. It is more head heavy, as you might guess, but not overly so. I mean, look at that balance point right there. It's kind of average. So there we go. Get my face wet. With my face wet, got those hairs softening. Got my 1/4 teaspoon here, pretty much a flat 1/4 teaspoon. I'm going to press it into the bottom of the bowl here. Very soft. I don't really need to press it in too much. Just get it anywhere in there, and it's going to be soft enough to absorb into the water without floating around in little chunks like the firm ones can sometimes do. And then you can take your finger that you use to shove it around and add that little extra soap residue to your wet face. And we'll start working this up in the bowl. Pull out the brush, very, very wet from the soak, and I shake out most of the water. It's what I do. There are a few soaps that appreciate that. Most of the soaps, you could leave some water in there. But one of the things I do is I provide data on the lather and how much water that it uses to come together, how much I have to add to it. And if I shake out a good bit of water, then that helps that to be a little bit more objective than if I say, give it 2 shakes. When you're done, when you pull a soaking brush out, shake it twice. Well, that all of a sudden becomes relative, because if it's a big brush, 2 shakes is different than a tiny brush, So let's pan down for the lather cam. Now with this, we'll see what a 1/4 teaspoon will get me in terms of how much lather. Theirs is a vegan base. Now with this razor, with this dual comb razor, to finish my thought from earlier, I'm looking forward to playing around with this dual comb. Now obviously we will be able to compare the dual comb, the open comb side, to the closed comb. And I think what I have forgotten to mention already is probably the most important fact about the razor. The reason why I've been so pumped about waiting for it. I was so excited when HD asked me if I was interested in trying it out. And it was because it's the 75 gap. My smallest WR2 is the 85. And it still has a little bit more blade feel than I might like. Before it could be, I could call it like a smooth razor, smooth but still efficient. That's kind of my pocket. That's where I like to be. It started out kind of frothy, didn't it? But as you can see, it's turning awesome. And so knowing that the 85 could still maybe use a little bit less gap, I have been hoping for something smaller. And when HD asked me about if I wanted to try out the 75, then I just jumped at the chance with a great bit of excitement. So I'll be able to try out that gap, first of all, to see if maybe that, there's a chance that that might be the golden gap for me in terms of a WR2. That might be where exactly I like it, and I might just ignore all the rest of them. So there's that. I will also get a chance, because this is dual comb, to play around with a solid bar versus the open comb. See what kind of difference there is with this particular razor. There are razors out there where the open comb makes only a small difference, like with a carve. It maybe bumps it up one level when you switch to the open comb. So like a C solid bar feels more like a, when you bump that solid bar up to an open comb, it feels more like a D. That kind of, concept. I will also get to play around with it in terms of, would a dual comb razor be a nice thing to have in my den as a general rule? Does it have a place in my, a valued place in my arsenal of razors? Like, for instance, would I enjoy using that open comb on the first pass and then the solid bar on the rest of the passes? I think that's what a lot of people kind of use it for. So I'm interested to see how that works out. Do I learn something new? Is that valuable? Like I said, a lot of times I'll use a mild closed comb razor, where a lot of guys on 5 days of growth, and a lot of guys just have to somehow buy an aggressive open comb for that purpose. This lather started off a little wimpy. Well, that's because it hadn't been worked up yet into a lather. It was just soap and water, and it looked like, man, I don't know if I'm going to get enough soap, right? Well, you can see I've got plenty of lather to do the job here. It looks great. Let's just go ahead and use what I have here, and I can go back and get more soap if I need to. And that's just a 1/4 teaspoon of product. Okay, I re-wet my face. Let us take the Labyrinth. Oh man, see, there I was working it, talking to you about the razor, and I was forgetting to digest and pay attention to the scent. Well, that kind of does give us a little bit of data, because the scent was not enough to kind of step up, to jump up to my nose and kind of stun me with its awesomeness, right? It's not a super strong scent. There's that. Let's just get into it. No, it's not strong. Not even medium, at least in this case. Now, of course, it's very possible that I would love this scent, and if so, then I should get it in the cologne, in the EDP. If I do that, and I have purchased several of Southern Witchcrafts EDPs, because Lycanthropy and Pomona, and another one, Autumn Ash, I think, just wonderful scents that they have. And when you use the EDP, boy, there's nothing to get in the way of all the nuances that they've put in that scent. It's intense, and I really I'm a big fan. It's mellow and smooth. It's not gourmand in any way. There's nothing punchy in it. Like a woody leather, but very, very smooth. Not necessarily sweet. Let's just see how it goes as we work it in. This is my boar brush that I'm planning on putting as many miles on as I can. And who knows, I may even do some kind of shortcut method on this one. Haven't decided yet. Maybe something like, not the fridge soak method. I think that's kind of a translation error. And I've already kind of done the long soak method a little bit to it when I have maybe I've gone to use it at night and then I've fallen asleep. And so it had a chance to soak overnight. What I may do is a very gentle hair dryer type method where I don't use hot air. I might try just using the cool air. Now this is not super thin right now, so I may actually add a little bit, some sprinkles here of water. You see the when you go back and forth like that, and you see kind of some pock marks, and it almost looks like a moonscape kind of surface with craters. Often that is an indicator for me that I need to add a little bit more water for my own preferences. Each soap is different, but many soaps, that's a telltale sign that it can definitely use more water if I want to put some more in, and I usually do, and I'm usually very happy with the results. Yeah, I added some to the brush, and this is much nicer. Got a big bloom here, but I travel with it often, and so when I tuck it into a travel tube, the bristles kind of dry and come back to a small shape, and so far the bloom hasn't really opened up and stayed. But also 63, 64 uses is still really young for a boar brush. I say it's that would be interesting. Let's put together a level. Let's put together a way to talk about the age of a boar brush, like toddler years, newborn, toddler, child, teenager, that would be interesting. There's that stage in a boar's life right in the beginning. Often it just lasts about 14 uses, and it is a little fussy infant. And you have to sometimes go back to the tub of soap before every pass because it's not holding on to the lather. And it's not blooming. It doesn't even feel as good as you think maybe it should. Well, that's often a short-lived stage. Okay. And then you get into usually it kind of moves pretty quickly. Once you get out of that stage, it's no longer hogging lather. It feels pretty good on the face. At least with the Semogues and Zeniths are my favorites, and so that's what happens there. You don't have this scritchy, age. There are probably some lower class boar knots that are scritchy and uncomfortable, but maybe you can call those the teenage years. But my Semogues and Zeniths kind of skip from infantile to being a pretty adult, a middle-aged adult, where it's enjoyable. It's not as good as it's gonna be. I might have to work up a little analogy there with ages, because there's a long stage where it's not as good as it's going to be, and that might last from 15 to 200. It's not as good as it's going to be, but it's really good. Now, when it hits that golden age and it becomes prime, then that's because all those tips have split. Lots of the tips have split, and they've split in kind of big ways. So they're softness is just there in droves, and that's what a lot of people who love boars love about them. And the problem is with me, because I have so many, they're growing very slowly. So it's going to take me forever to get them to that golden period, which is why only within the last week or two I've started to consider switching to some type of accelerator for a lot of my bores. All right. I've been kind of just use it up until that point, but if I just use it, I will probably retire and my brushes still won't be in that in that wonderful zone, right? All right. So I've let it sit. Feels very nice. Feels luxurious. This is a wonderful soap base. Stephen and Courtney have done a great job with this formulation. Courtney mainly does the scents and stuff. Stephen does the brushes. Generally speaking, that's kind of how they divide up the labor. So I think most of the kudos can go to Courtney in terms of the awesomeness of the scents and the soap and things like that. All right, here we go with the 75. I'm excited. All right, we'll let this shave be the paradigm of I don't shave too often, and so I'll end up with some 2 days of growth almost. And so I'm going to pretend like the open comb is the only thing that can shave that off. So that's what I'm going to use first. Nice firm blade control, of course, from this head. That is definitely par for the course for the WR2. No tugging. It's a good match, it seems, between the blade and this razor. There is still some blade feel. So this is, I've definitely had other razors with this amount of growth that have annihilated stubble with a smoother feel. So at least with the open comb side, even going down to the 75, we're not at a smooth place, for me. But we're definitely going to give this a good many uses. Take advantage of the opportunity that Mr. Shaves, Mr. HD is affording us. Pretty comfortable. I mean, a slight bit of tugging, but I mean, really, really very small amount. You're like, yeah, that's how much tugging I should expect if I'm shaving off 2 days of growth. So it's not a big deal. All right. So I could see maybe even going down lower than this in terms of the open comb, because I mean, why not achieve an open comb that is smooth, Now, of course, in my experiments with this razor, I am going to shave with it the whole shave with the open comb. Definitely put that on the list of things to do. Obviously, I'm going to shave the whole shave with the solid bar, and we'll just see how all that goes. But right now, we're going to do the open comb first pass, close comb the rest of them, give my face a little water. My nose is a little stuffy. I'm going to remember to say that. I would probably be perceiving just a little bit more of the scent if my nose wasn't as clogged up. It feels maybe 50%, so I feel like I still should get a good idea of what it offers, and I am really enjoying what I'm smelling. So I'm pretty sure this is going to be a good idea to purchase when it comes available. Second pass. And I had nice slickness there with the razor and the lather worked very well together. All right, now switch over to, and this is what I'm looking forward to. We have been very efficient in our first pass. A lot of the stubble is already gone. And so we are talking about an open comb that is still very efficient, for me at least, at the 0.75 gap. Now, if you're a person who likes pasty lather, and so then maybe your safety bar is going to ride that over that thick lather and not be able to dig in as much as it might with me, then you might need a bigger gap. Maybe. I don't know how much that comes into play in this kind of scenario. But I imagine it does a little bit. So solid bar, 75 gap with the Gillette Platinum. Ooh. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, second pass I usually go cross grain. This feels terrific. A very tiny amount of blade feel. I like it. Very nice. Oh, yeah. I'm thinking that it's still doing a good job of cutting. I think that it's being efficient enough. I think it's being quite, and right now, right there with that particular stroke, of course, the hair down here is more tender, and so it's more prone to interpret that blade feel, and so there's still some there, and so I could even see dropping down past or being happy if he dropped down past the 0.75, perhaps like 0.7, maybe 0.65, but I mean, at some point you're going to get so close that you go over the line, right? But that's a wonderful feel. You still get the feeling of an edge, like, hey, you're shaving, you're doing a manly thing. That's a blade. It doesn't quite feel like the blade's been swallowed up in something soft, and the hair is just magically being removed. You do definitely get a feel that you're shaving. So first impression, first run with this solid bar side. I'm a big fan. I like it better than the 0.85 for sure. And I believe I'm not going to get at the end of this shave and think that I haven't cut enough hair. I haven't, that it hasn't been an efficient shave. I think we already have a nice efficient shave. All right. Pay attention now, Mr. Shaver, to the scent as well, because this will be the last pass, and get some water on my face. Okay, third pass. And man, it looks like that quarter teaspoon, it's kind of exactly the right amount to use, because I have got enough for, I could probably, enough for another 2 passes probably if I squeezed what was in the brush out. You know how some guys do that? But this is kind of just the right amount of lather. A little bit of margin in case I made some kind of mistake, in case I need to reshave a big area. Yeah, see, there's enough in there for another pass. I'm getting good glide with the razor, so the lather's doing a great job with its slickness. All right, now the polishing off here. The only thing, and maybe one of the reasons why I haven't really purchased any dual comb razors, is I don't want to always have to use one side of the razor. I don't want to always have to worry about which side I'm using. That's wonderful. Wonderful blade control. The lather's tremendously slick, doing a great job with it. Very smooth and comfy. I don't feel like I'm in any danger of nicking myself, but I feel like I potentially could if I made some kind of huge, technical mistake, or like with my skin, if I switch to against the grain too quickly without having enough of the stubble taken down, I feel like this guy could give me some irritation. So he's still potent. He's still a good cutter. I'm going to try cross grain from the other direction. Oh yeah, there we go. A little bit of blade feel to that, but it really should be. That's really nice. And it's good. The lavanda is Achilles Brito lavanda is an okay lather, but this a good soap will beat it out of the park. Nice. Oh man, very nice close cut I have received. So the scent of the soap was a background element during the shave. Now it's enjoyable. It's manly. It's warm, kind of welcoming, friendly. In a sense, it is not vicious like the Minotaur of the Labyrinth. Now, of course, there could be some more animalistic or musky notes that could come out in the liquid form, in either the Splash or the EDP. But the soap is smooth. It doesn't have very much muskiness to it, anything bitter or harsh like that. It reminds me a little bit of Loyal, but right now this guy's a little bit low on strength, on scent strength, which is kind of atypical for Southern Witchcrafts. Often I'm loving the scent strength that they have. Labyrinth. All right. Well, I've smelled enough of it to know that I think that I like it very much. And if I were to purchase it and the full soap tub has this same strength, I might pass on that soap to somebody else. However, I would be confident that the aftershave Splash or the EDP would have strength that I would enjoy. And from the little taste of the scent that this soap has given me, I fully expect to really enjoy the scent of those two items. It's not so smooth that I have a tiny little bit over here of a little twinge of tenderness, but really that's one of those things that goes away after just a few minutes, so no big deal there. And what to use post shave? You know what? I'm gonna try something new. I came across, my friends, in this hobby. You've got wonderful places like Maggard Razors, which is a brick and mortar store. You've got Pasteur's Pharmacy in New York City. There are some other ones out there as well. Not a lot of places where you can go in and handle a bunch of good shave gear. There used to be some Art of Shaving stores in various places, but that's kind of overly hyped and not as good quality for what you're paying for. So I don't really count those guys in this. But what you do have are beauty supply stores. And I've been in several. And usually what you'll get is a few different kinds of Pinode Clubman, maybe. There are those Lustre type Lucky Tiger tonics in those tall bottles that a barber is going to have on hand. And so after he finishes shaving you, he'll say, "Hey there, Bubba, what kind of cologne you want after your shave?" And so you'd pick, "Oh, give me that fancy blue stuff," or, whatever. And there you go. That's what it would be used for, right? And so it's not I don't think too much of a perfumer was involved in creating a lot of those. They're kind of more wholesale, if you will. And sometimes you'll get lucky and get maybe some Pinode Clubman soap. Sometimes they'll have a Puck of Williams, but rarely have I ever found a real shaving soap there. Every once in a while you get a cream, but not usually. And then they're woefully inadequate on brushes. A lot of times there'll be some maybe boar brushes and maybe some really horrible synthetics that look like they were made with fishing line or something like that. And of course they'll only be $2, but I just feel pity for anybody having to be subjected to those. And then they did have some boar brushes just for a couple of bucks, but they were that inferior kind. And so that you're not going to find nice. You can have, like, there was this section today. I found the beauty supply store with 20 times more stuff than I had seen anywhere else. Beauty World. And it was a world. It was a huge store. And sure enough, most of the place is wigs and weaves and things like that. But there was this whole aisle of aftershave products. And man, and then this actually had a bunch of colognes too. A nice selection of colognes as well. So in that sense, it was kind of like a department store, but it was on normal Walmart shelves. You know what I mean? They had everything with a little protecty thing to keep it from leaving the store inadvertently. And so normally you get a section, the half a dozen beauty supply stores I've been to have maybe a 6-foot wide section of aftershaves, and it's a couple of shelves. You've got those Lustre, ones, Lucky Tiger type ones, and Jerris might be that other brand. And then maybe you have, and of course you're going to have beard oils and balms and other stuff somewhere else, but you're not really going to have too much else for shavers like me. Well, this place was the mega store. It was huge inside, 5 times bigger than any other beauty supply store I've ever been in. So I had a lot of hope. And sure enough, I found the aftershave section. Now the brushes, same as all the other stores. They have that cheap little piece of crap brush that really shouldn't even be in existence. Now this one had some shave mugs, shave cups that were, at least there's that. But mainly it was the aftershaves today. And one of the ones I bought was Clubman by Pinode, or I assume that Pinode is the company and Clubman is the brand. This is not a brand that I use a lot because their Clubman scent, the normal one, is one that I don't actually like. However, I do like Whiskey Woods, and so that inspired me to try the Cognac Neat. So we're going to use that today. I also tried tequila teas, same size as this one. I'm a fan of tequila, but it had this scent note in it that really was coconut or suntan lotion. And so I'm not a fan of coconut as a scent and suntan lotion, that kind of thing. But man, there are some soaps out there and splashes and stuff that are definitely geared toward the beach kind of experience. And I definitely heard a lot of guys go crazy liking those type of scents. And so that sounds like but the thing is, it didn't even mention coconut in the scent list. It even said a limey punch, but I didn't smell any lime. Yeah, I like this one. Whiskey Woods is a little bit more woody, a little bit darker. So this is not quite as heavy. Now the description says a sweet tobacco scent. Okay, with anise, patchouli, and musk notes. Tobacco? Sweet tobacco? No, now I've smelled sweet tobacco before. Tobacconist by Mammoth. The Full Measure of Man by Barrister and Mann. Santa's Pipe by Saliski. There's a Captain's Pipe by Black Ship Grooming. Those are wonderful tobacco scents. And the tobacco is not quite as dominant here as some of the other notes. I mean, it's not dominant, and so it's more blending with the other notes. Now I'm enjoying it. I think it would work with a good many items. The anise is fortunately not too strong. The patchouli and musk, I like it. I'm glad I got it. That one worked out well. Every once in a while you win when you do a blind buy. Now here's the cool thing. There were several other Pinode scents that they had. And then they even had, in addition to this size, they had a little whiskey sample size. I call it a whiskey sample. They reminded me of those alcohol samples in the tiny jars, the tiny bottles. And you could try Lilac Vegetal, which is a very polarizing scent. I'm not going to buy that size of the Lilac Vegetal. However, they had the small sample things. I bought one of those of Lilac Vegetal, so we'll be able to try that out. There's something gin that's in the Pinode series, some kind of gin, and so I bought a little sampler of that one for just a couple of bucks. And maybe one other one. Something with spice, amber and spice, or something like that. So I'm looking forward to bringing those to you. Now, these don't have too much in terms of food for your face, in terms of nutrition for your face. It's mostly alcohol. Can I take off they blocked, this says coumarin. Oh, here we go. The little security tag does come off. Very good. Okay, denatured alcohol, water, fragrance, benzyl benzoate, cinnamol, citrol, citronellol, coumarin, eugenol, limonene, linalool, blue, red, and yellow coloring. Okay, so yeah, there's not any glycerin or aloe or witch hazel or anything like that. So you are strictly dealing with a product that's just kind of alcohol and fragrance. And sometimes that's just fine. That's what a lot of our forefathers did for years, right? I did not receive very much sting and during that, and so I think the We had good technique with our razor. Let's take a look at the closeness of the shave. That's really good. That's really good. I took a look at my trouble spot, and I'm having trouble seeing any tips at all, let alone any tips with any length on them. Sometimes you'll see the very end of the hair, because it got cut flush, and I don't really see any of those. So, definitely my favorite head by far of the WR2 series, because we keep getting more comfortable down from the 85. HD also said that a few of the people that he had passed this razor to were reporting in something that he found as well, that they were assuming that it might be too mild, because it's not a gap that Wolfman has had in the WR2s, as far as I know. Definitely not in the standard lineup. And these people were trying this razor and realizing that that's not actually too mild at all. And I am in that group. So I could see going down to I again say either a 6.5 or a 0.7. If I could customize my Wolfman WR2 to that extent, that's what I would do. But if I couldn't, and I would live with the 75, then I would trade both of my, at this point, first impression, I would trade both of my 85s for 75. I like it. I like it. Still very efficient. Still got the job done. And that's just 3 passes. And the first pass on the 2 days of growth, it was not as if there were 2 days of growth. Now, it cut efficiently as if there were only 1 day of growth, but the feeling was, yes, there's 2 days of growth. I think tomorrow when I shave, it won't be any kind of tugging at all, because there just won't be as much stubble there. I'll probably keep the same blade. Let's maybe try to be consistent with these tests in a way. And then we'll branch out and try other blades. I'm really enjoying this. HD might have to pry this out of my cold, dead hands. Don't tell him, though. Okay? So, HD, if you're watching, then skip over this part. Thank you very much. All right. Wonderful. Wonderful experience. 3 passes of lather and a 1/4 teaspoon of product looks like kind of the amount that I like to have left over. Now for 2 passes here, or a very sloppy, generous 1 pass, and this brush continues to be enjoyable. So this is a win on many levels. The Labyrinth as a sample, and I often find this to be the case. Somehow the sample just is not quite as strong as the full tub when you get it. And so, and I think of it as maybe 1 degree. And so if I evaluate a sample and I think this is too low, I'm not going to purchase it. I'll stop and I'll say, how low is it? Do I wish it were just a little more strong? Do I feel like if it were a little more strong, then it would be right? Well, in that case, I'll do the buy if I think that if I enjoy the scent. However, if I feel like it needs to be 2 steps higher or something like that, then it's probably not going to gain that much ground on it. But it's for some reason, maybe when people are spooning them out to create the samples, maybe that extra air time, I don't know why, but sometimes samples just don't hold their scent quite like the tubs do sometimes. Oh man, what a wonderful razor. The lightweight of the handle, not a problem at all. Not noticed because, like I said, it's aluminum, but it's thick. It's a thick handle. It is hollow, but it's got some thickness here with the little cap that gets pressed in. I assume he's making it. No, you know what? This actually looks like this could be a whole billet. I wonder if it's hollow. Let's look, see if we can tell. The stainless steel version, you can see how it changes, and this guy right here is different, and he's actually a plug that goes in, and it's a friction fit. You know, they press it in, probably with some kind of mechanical device. Okay, no. Now this doesn't feel solid aluminum, but it might be. I haven't felt aluminum enough, but I don't see any kind of seam where it looks like these are different pieces. So this really could be solid aluminum. And I'm glad about that because this is a nice weight. And so the weight difference of the head being stainless and the handle being aluminum, this is just fine. It worked very well. And in my case, to me the aluminum looks a little cheap here because it's not a it's a machined finish. It's not polished or anything, and so it looks like the shape of a beautiful Wolfman handle, but it doesn't quite look like that pro finish, just by nature of the metal and the type of cutting that was done. So, but the stainless steel head there. At some point, yes, I'll pop off another Wolfman handle and put it on there. Man, oh, wonderful. So the 75, my new WR2 love, based on the first impression, and I don't expect that to change. All right. Wonderful, wonderful. Well, there we go. I hope there's been something good in this shave for you. The brush did really well. The lather, I think, was perfect. I did need to add a little bit of water on that first pass, but that's pretty common. And I did not need to add any more water for the other passes. That's also kind of common. And that's why I've started to, instead of adding, if it feels thick on my face on the first pass, if it feels just a little thicker, I'll only add water to the brush. If it feels a lot thicker, I'll add it to the brush and the bowl. But just like today, it happened really great. I added just the water I added to the brush. It initially was just what I needed. And then by the time I rinsed, there was more hydration on my face. And so pass 2 and 3 were perfect. So I believe I nailed the lather today pretty well. And we did not use up too much water. For a 1/4 teaspoon of soap, we only used up maybe 14 milliliters of water. How about that? How about that? Great time with the razor. Could be smoother, like a Fatip or something like that, or smoother. A Timeless 68 might be smoother. I think so. Timeless Solid Bar 68 stainless. But great time with the razor. Brush, very enjoyable. Soap, performance was awesome as usual with Southern Witchcrafts. And the scent, I enjoyed it a lot. I wish it were a little bit stronger. I continue to enjoy this Cognac Neat scent. That's a great follow-up. Tobacco, patchouli, musk. That's a good mix. I like that one. I'm glad I ventured out and got that one. So I'm enjoying that. Great shave. I hope there's been something in this video to help you out in your shaving journey. And before we go, I wanted to show you the brush as I rinsed it out and shook it out. Still got some dampness, of course, and so that's why it's clumping a little bit, but that's the bloom as it exists now. And I'm definitely starting to see more splitting around the edges, and so hopefully we can get that to come around. Now, if I just had 1 or 2 bore brushes, I would definitely be in the camp of just use it, because you'll be able to get in lots of uses in just, in 2 years, you've got a lot of uses, maybe 3 if you have a cycle of 2 bore brushes. But when there's so many other brushes to enjoy, I think I'm about to switch my tune and figure out some type of acceleration mechanism to try to get my bore brushes to that golden age of splitting without having to wait so long. I want to try to pick the safest method to do that. And so that's why maybe instead of the hot air on the blow dryer, maybe cooler air perhaps. Not quite sure. I'm pondering. I'm thinking about it. And we'll see. And that I'll clarify and say that my friend who SpongeBob is, I think, is the one who mentioned that this is what he does. That is what he does with the hairdryer. That is what he does after it's had like a day of soaking. Not in the fridge, just, wherever. He soaks the bristles for a day, and then he pulls it out. And he may strap it on the towel or something like that, but then he goes at it with a hairdryer. Now, he doesn't get it really close. He doesn't just try to fry the brush. He'll take it away and kind of let it cool down and, you know, something like that, and I'll bring it back, is the impression that I got. And so he's not frying the brush out, but it's just a little faster drying that hopefully, and I could see why that would actually help the tips to split. And so if it does that in a safe way, then I might try that. And what I could do is try it on a brush that I don't care as much about. I've got a couple of bore brushes that I was either going to sell or do some kind of accelerator method on, and so I might actually do that. So there we go. The Semogue Owners Club, and this is the one with the Taj handle. So the 0.75 gap on the Wolfman was what we used today, and was wonderful. Tomorrow, I think, obviously use the same razor. We use the same blade, and maybe I'll do the exact same shave, but this time what will be different will be the stubble that I have on my face at the start. And so I can see how that open comb feels on a day's worth of growth instead of almost 2 days of growth, and then keep everything else the same. See what happens there. Wonderful, wonderful. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves. Take care, guys.